Hey guys, let's get more news about Steelers, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. George Pickens absolutely shouldn't play until Steelers are in playoffs, Kaboly says. When will George Pickens take the field for the Pittsburgh Steelers next? If Mark Kaboly had his way, he wouldn't play again until the games turn win or go home. The third-year veteran is currently dealing with a hamstring injury, which is more serious than initially believed. Though still undetermined, he could miss multiple additional games after sitting out Sunday. Although he hasn't found the end zone as frequently as desired, George Pickens is clearly the Steelers' biggest threat on offense. He has 55 receptions on the season for 850 yards, averaging 15.5 yards per catch, 3 finding the end zone. On the season, he has 16 receptions of 20-plus yards, 3 of 40-plus. He is an incredibly valuable weapon, which is why, Kaboly believes, caution is warranted. I wouldn't play him until January 11th for the AFC Wild Card Super Round, or whatever they call it now, he said of Pickens on 93.7 The Fan yesterday, and he pointed out that is a pattern consistent with how the Steelers have handled injuries this year, exercising an abundance of caution. That goes right back to Russell Wilson, who injured his calf before the first training camp practice. They frankly tried bringing him back gradually, only for him to experience an aggravation. The Steelers don't want George Pickens dealing with the same thing, only returning when he is as healthy as possible. They have also taken the cautious approach with Nick Herbig and Alex Highsmith recently, for example. Kaboly did expand on his reasoning further. I want him at 110%, because I think this team could go win on the road with George Pickens, he insisted. In other words, he would go so far as to sacrifice the division title if it meant guaranteeing Pickens' health. I want a 110% healthy George Pickens moving forward here, and if that means keeping him out 4 weeks, a month, until the first round of the playoffs, so be it. Later on in the interview, Kaboly doubled down, insisting that he was serious about believing the Steelers should hold George Pickens out until the playoffs, all the while concluding the team was not likely to do so. Absolutely, I wouldn't be playing him. Imagine bringing him back for a game against the Bengals. Just say you need it to win the AFC North, you'll get the 3 or 4 seed, and he tweaks the sucker again, Kaboly said. Because once you tweak it once, and unless it's 150%, it could be easily tweaked again. Then you're going into the playoffs without George Pickens. While I understand Kaboly's point, it may be a bit too extreme. Obviously, the Steelers will look like fools if they bring Pickens back for the finale, with the playoffs guaranteed, if it's guaranteed, only for him to aggravate his hamstring injury and miss the postseason. But you still want to maximize your playoff seeding. That is especially true for a team that hasn't won a playoff game since 2016. And as you know, Mike Tomlin doesn't live in his fears, except when he does. You mad, bro? Readers fuming on Steelers fan behavior, George Pickens media coverage, MLB contracts. The Pittsburgh Steelers have won 2 in a row. The Penguins are generally playing better. And it even appears the Pirates are trying to address their first base hole with someone who isn't old, washed up, and overweight. So, generally, readers are in a good mood right now. Keep in mind, though, that the Steelers haven't won in Philadelphia since 1965. So I'm pretty sure what the tone of you mad, bro, will be next Thursday. In the meantime, here's an appetizer for this week's edition. Steve J. has quite a theory on George Pickens' hamstring injury. He thinks the Steelers faked it. I can't believe you bought that baloney. So when did he hurt himself? During the Friday practice walkthrough? Getting out of the car? Experimenting with more creative eye black techniques? This was the Steelers and more so Art Rooney reacting to the behavior by Pickens that also drew 2 fines and the anything but grown-up comments made by Pickens that Friday as well. Even if he had a slight hamstring issue, if it wasn't the Browns, and if the fines didn't come, then Pickens plays. This was Mother Superior Art 2 laying down the Rooney Law. That law being, you can illegally headhunt and get a fine for that, but don't you get fined for making a violent shooting gesture with your fingers. The Steelers also looked at this as a perfect opportunity to send a message to Pickens in a game they thought they could not only win without him, but probably stood a better chance of because they felt he'd probably double down on his petulance, i.e. passion, at some point, costing them points and possibly a win, and they didn't want to risk also losing him to a real NFL suspension for the much tougher games following this one. Okay. Got it. So, him missing the game in Philadelphia against the 11-2 Eagles this week is part of the conspiracy theory then too, I guess? Steelers urged to target $80 million WR. The Pittsburgh Steelers never did make a big splash at wide receiver during the 2024 offseason. But the Steelers are 10-3, and after their most recent victory against the Cleveland Browns, head coach Mike Tomlin stressed how much confidence he and the coaching staff have in their wideouts. But that doesn't mean they won't aim to make a splash in free agency at receiver next offseason. On December 9th, Bleacher Report argued the Steelers should sign veteran wideout Keenan Allen. Van Jefferson, Calvin Austin III, and even Mike Williams have all chipped in to give the Steelers the production of a good number 2 wide receiver to pair with Pickens. Still, it would be good for the team to bring in more talent to the receiving core, wrote Bleacher Report's staff. Keenan Allen has not put up big numbers for the Bears this season, but he's still a fairly reliable veteran. It would be worth a shot to see what he has left to offer an offense next season and if he can bounce back in a more functional offense next year. Allen has 47 catches for 471 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns this season. But just last year, he made his 6th Pro Bowl while mostly catching passes from Los Angeles Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert. He finished the 2023 campaign with 108 receptions, 1,243 receiving yards, and 7 touchdowns. Allen will be a free agent next spring. He signed a 4-year, $80.1 million contract extension with the Chargers early in the 2020 NFL season. The Steelers nearly acquired Brandon Aiyuk from the San Francisco 49ers this offseason. Fox Sports' Jay Glazer reported on September 8 that a Steelers deal for Aiyuk fell through at the last moment. Landing Aiyuk would have given Pittsburgh a pair of big play receivers. George Pickens led the NFL in yards per reception last year. Allen wouldn't offer the same upside as Aiyuk, particularly at his age. Allen will turn 33 in April. But he could be an even better complement to Pickens. Allen has been a possession receiver throughout his NFL career, averaging only 11.6 yards per catch but 6.3 receptions per game. He's eclipsed the 100-catch mark in 5 seasons during his career. And you fan? What do you think of the situation of Keenan Allen? Leave your opinion in the comments.